good.
Hello, what is going on, everybody, and welcome to Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And we do that through CFO and high-level consulting services. So we're still in season 2. And I'm just saying, I said this season we're going to do it bigger. We're focusing on $1 million agencies, people who are doing this at a high level, but are still keeping the main thing. They're still anchored on their why. And, there's somebody out there that I was like, he makes some posts and I'm like, oh, that's good. I see some posts about the family. Then he talks about the finances. Then he talks about coaching other agencies. I'm like, we need him. So, ladies and gentlemen, Blake Snodgrass is here and he's about to rip it up. What's going on, bro?
What's up, man? Dude, have you done media or television in the past? Because that intro was bomb. You're good at this.
Nope. I just wake up and just,
I just wake up and rip it. I'm a natural.
There you go.
That's awesome, dude. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on, man. Really appreciate it. I'm always down to talk about literally anything having to do with marketing or agencies or anything. So glad to be here, bro.
All right, let's do it. So tell the people name of company, who you serve, and why you do it.
My name is Blake Snodgrass. Currently, our main marketing company is a marketing consulting company and coaching company called Agency Collective. That's what the A on my shirt stands for. We help marketing agencies who are plateaued, a lot of people who are in the sub 20K per month range, sub 30K per month range, who have been stuck in the solopreneur type area, if you will, or solopreneur mode or whatever, and help them break past that and start building real businesses. So that's our main thing. Our main thing right now is called Agency Collective, where it's kind of an accelerator for agency owners. In the past, I've had multiple different marketing agencies and multiple different consultancies as well over the past 6, 7, 8 years.
Okay, so he telling y'all off rip. He not new to this. He true to this. He's been doing it. He's not one of these people that just took a course last year and now he can coach you on everything. You notice he said 7 to 8 years in the game. So let's start out with some easier stuff. So tell us, when you first started your journey, what even made you want to get in this field? Because a lot of people that we brought on, not like they went to college for marketing, right? It's something happened somewhere that made this change. What happened in your case?
Yeah, so the reason why I ended up getting into digital marketing was straight up necessity. And I'll explain why. So I started when I was younger. I was heavily involved in ministry. So I worked at a church all throughout high school, all throughout college. I was super involved in a local church, and whenever I graduated college, I immediately went to work full time at that church. Matter of fact, I went to I went to college for music to get a music degree. And about halfway through that degree, the people at this very large church that I wanted to work at basically said hey, we're ready to offer you a full-time job contingent upon you graduating. So I switched over to a communications degree to kind of fast track it out of college because that's a pretty quick degree. Ended up learning a lot about sociology and psychology in that communications degree that I would later on use in marketing, which is pretty cool. Anyways, I graduated. I went to work at that church full time where I was really doing a lot of media production for them, a lot of videography, graphic design, etc. Within a year of working there, one of my buddies told me to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I don't even remember how that came about. But long story short, that's how I caught the entrepreneur bug. So within a year of having that job, I quit that job and to start my own business. And when I started that business, I just used the skills I had in my hand, which is graphic design, media production, video production, that type of stuff. And I found out very, very quickly how difficult it can be to grow a business that doesn't have recurring revenue. It's just man, if I want to keep the bills paid, I got to sell a new website, sell a new logo package. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I was charging $175 for a logo package and stuff like that. So dude, it was tough out there. I'm probably 22 years old at this time. I'm being an idiot of an entrepreneur paying for an expensive office space when it's totally unnecessary. I'm making all the wrong moves. I made like $26,000 that first year, and I was really trying. I was like grinding for that $26,000 that year. Anyways, that grind, and this is where I said like out of necessity, I started researching different ways to like make more money with the skill sets that I had, and I stumbled across digital marketing. I think I saw an ad for a course actually, an ad for a course that taught you how to like start offering SEO as a service. And so SEO, I always tell people, is like my native digital marketing language. Like that's what I got started in. And yeah, man, learned SEO, started offering it, started growing the agency. I think the first paid ads course I ever bought was Dan Henry's $9.97 course, like back in 2016 or whatever it was. So I learned paid ads, bought a Google Ads course. I bought so many courses. To date, I've spent well over six figures on courses, masterminds, trainings, conferences, all that stuff. Just self-education has been huge for me. Anyways, man, that started me down the path of digital marketing and starting my first like actual digital marketing agency, which I guess would have been like in 2013, 2014 was when I was getting into digital marketing, somewhere around there.
Okay, I love it. And just we take notes here. I don't know why I act like I'm in class, but we take the notes. All right, he already dropping bombs. Now he's saying them so smooth. Y'all gotta catch it. All right, y'all know I'm gonna highlight it, but like right here, I want you to go back to this. You said you know how it is when we're starting, that we get these unnecessary things. Let's go back into that because I want you to break down for people like what are some of those things when you were starting out and even now as a business owner that you feel like, do I really need it? Is it really helping me go forward or not?
Yep. Man, wow, talk about like it being timely because I had to make a decision yesterday of like no, I don't really need that quite yet. Whereas back then, a decade ago, me like abstaining from purchasing something I didn't need or like, accruing an expense I didn't need was like, an office space, or I don't need that fancy computer or like whatever. Nowadays, it's like people. Like, I'm like, man, should I make that hire yet? I mean, it's a big jump. I'm going to have to pay that person a lot of money. Should I do it now and then know that my profitability might decrease, but then ramp up over time because of that hire? Or should I wait? Whatever. Like, so yesterday I made the decision to wait on a hire I was planning on making. And I'm like, we can continue to operate without that role for now, and then it'll be a smarter decision in 3 months from now after XYZ thing has happened, right? So in the beginning, those types of things were like, yeah, I shouldn't spend money on a fancy office space when my business has, 13 grand in the bank account when I'm 24 years old or whatever. Like I'm just getting started. And nowadays it's more about like, should I or should I not invest in this $20,000 mentor? Should I or should I not invest in this large salary employee? Like that type of stuff.
I love it. And I think that is so key because I know that that's something that a lot of our people ask us as agency owners. Cam, I think I need to make this higher, but you always told me come talk to you first before I do stuff. And I think what you said is so key because I think somewhere in the marketing agency education system, we always think, we got to keep getting account managers and we got to go get 12 VAs and setters and closers when you have to do the right things for the stage you're in and maybe the next stage, not 17 stages from now, right? So to your point, I love how you were able to say, let's look at it. And what we always teach our people, like, hey, let's look at the finances. What are they saying? Do we have enough profit to even afford a $7K a month salary? Do we have enough money in the bank? Because like you said, we know that we're going to have to spend time teaching and training. Can it handle that? And all those different factors. I had that same issue with the office where, like you say, it's like, all right, it's cool, but do I really need this? Like, who's really going to come visit me? We can stay virtual. So I love how you work through those.
That first year, you get a taste of real money, and you're like, oh, okay, time to level up. I'm gonna spend $5,000 on a branding package. I'm gonna get this big ass office I don't need. Excuse my language. I'm gonna hire someone like way before I need them. I'm gonna hire an executive assistant. It's like there's some ego involved, right?
Yes,
there's some ego involved in that.
Oh yeah, talk about it.
Well, actually, I was taking notes while you were talking. I want to hit on one little thing before I move on to that because we can talk about the whole ego thing. But like about different things that earlier on in your business you like want to try to like avoid wasting money on, do courses. Like, can we talk about courses for a second?
Oh
So
yes,
what,
I
and
have
I know I
them.
just mentioned like, okay, Agency Collective, we're helping agencies, yada, yada. But like what we do, I'm not going to make this some kind of pitch, but like what we do is like hands-on consulting with you. Like we have meetings every day and we're like in the trenches. Like, let me look at your ad copy. This client said this, here's how to respond to them. Let me review your sales call. Like it's consulting, right?
Right,
There's a big difference between that and like the courses I took years ago where it's like you pay $3,000, you buy a set of videos. There might be a Facebook group to ask questions in, but like it's a course, right? People need to realize that like, man, after you've bought a handful of courses, most likely you have all the information that you need. Okay. I tell people every day, like information accumulation does not equate to success. Like success happens when you position yourself around people who are on the same path, same journey. You position yourself around people that can hold you accountable to taking the action that is needed to succeed, and so on and so forth. Like it's more about, yes, action, like, go, Gary V, do the thing, whatever, but like also accountability, like positioning yourself around the right people, right? So again, for whoever is out there, and this was me for a time, who just thinks like, man, the more courses I buy, like, oh, this guy has the key. No, wait, this guy has the key, and I'm gonna keep on buying course after course. Like, dude, that's not it. If you've bought like 3 or 4 courses, most likely, bro, you have all the information that you need. And even if you don't, you can fill in your knowledge gaps with YouTube or whatever. But like you need support and accountability and so on and so forth.
that
But
was so good.
ego, like you were saying, yeah, a lot of those bad decisions earlier on in business can be made because of ego. Like the simple stuff, like overspending on an employee you might not need yet, or an office space, or whatever. But ego seeps into a lot of other types of decisions in your agency as well. Like making big bets before you're really ready. This could be like investing in advertising before you've really like learned how to use that particular medium. I'm trying to think of examples, but like ego seeps into a lot of other types of decisions as well, I believe.
I love it. And first off, he just dropped the whole bar. Information accumulation doesn't equal success. That is so good because
Facts.
we're forever learning. But to your point, if you don't apply it and get held accountable, like you just know a whole bunch of stuff. You're not doing it though. So I think
Yeah,
that
but
was
like I feel like that's a really like popular thing to say nowadays of like, however it's said, information accumulation doesn't equate to success. Like you got to do the work. Like Gary Vee says, information is shit. You need to execute, whatever. Like everyone knows that. It's a very popular thing to say. But the question becomes like, okay, well, how do you execute? Like, how do you take action? I know that information doesn't equal success. I need to act on it. Okay, well, like, how do I act on it? And what kind of mechanisms can I put in place to make sure I'm acting on it? And that's where, again, not to be like promo-y or whatever, but like Agency Collective, that's why we place such a heavy emphasis on like support and accountability. I joke around and say the A stands for accountability. Like that's what it comes down to, is positioning yourself around, either it could be like a one-off mentor or a group of people or a mastermind or whatever, to where like you're going to get there's going to be some degree of accountability there. And I joined mastermind. I'm literally, I kid you not, I'm signing up for a mastermind today. Like I'm always investing in myself, but nowadays it's less about like paying for unique strategies, because I've like kind of seen it all by now. And it's more about like paying to be around certain people who I know have different ways of thinking, and I know I'm going to be held accountable for living up to a certain standard as either a person, father, entrepreneur, or whatever.
I like that because I was just about to say. Now you said you spent 6 figures on it. Tell us what, in your opinion, makes a good mastermind versus a bad one, because we know there's both. So, what have you found? Maybe 2 or 3 things that you're like, this is what you should look for in a mastermind or coaching program, because there's so many, because the market is just saturated with them. Versus if you get these signs up front, you probably should stay clear.
Yeah. So I think the 3 things that came to my mind first about like what you should look for in a mastermind is like the experiential track record of the founder, the how aligned you are with where that founder went to and where you want to go to, right? Because I think it's like an obvious thing to say, but like the whole process is finding someone who's been to exactly where you want to go to, and then paying them to tell you how to get there. So like where they've been or where they are, like make sure that aligns with exactly where you want to be, right? Make sure that's a match. So experience, that match thing I just tried to describe. And then lastly, the whole accountability thing, right? Like make sure that, like, listen, if you're going to pay for a consultant, like make sure you have access to them and or their team on a very regular basis, right? I always tell people, like, the more seriously you take, the more serious you are about growing an agency, the more you should remove yourself as the owner, meaning like replacing yourself in the different roles within your business. But the more seriously you take yourself as a consultant, the more hands-on you should be with your clients. Maybe that's the best way to put it. The more serious you are about growing an agency, the less hands-on you should be with clients. The more serious you are about being a consultant, the more hands-on you should be with clients, right? Because in an agency, it's all about like, look at these big agencies that have like hundreds of clients. You think the owner is like having, check-in calls with clients? You think the owner's on sales calls? Like, no, like the agency game is all about, and I'm about to go on a whole spiel because
because
I
you
talk
just
about
put that in there, and I'm like, hold up, you're gonna make some people mad. Okay, I
for
want to
sure.
go
I mean,
break it down because to your point, I literally was just thinking about this yesterday. So
yeah,
let me tee you up for the alley. All right,
yeah,
so yesterday had a literally was in nonstop back-to-back meetings from 10 a.m. till 5 or 4:30. And all of it was us meeting with clients, doing the consulting piece that we do.
yeah,
I was feeling amazing. I'm like, yes. They're like, dude, I needed this, or I've got so many ideas now, and I'm happy. And then when I left, I was like, Cam, that's not a feeling. Like, to try to find somebody to do what I just did,
yeah,
I don't even know how that's going to work. And if we had double the roster, how would you do that?
yeah.
Break it down for us.
Yeah, so I mean, in regards to scaling a consultancy, you do have to find ways to. So we have like different tiers of our consultancy, and one is more of like a group coaching for the sole purpose of making it extremely affordable for people to get the education and the resources and the accountability that they need. And then we have like a level up tier that does include some one-on-one coaching. So like there's different tiers that we have to make it manageable to grow a consulting company in a way that all of our clients get all the support that they need based on like how much they feel they need or whatever. But going back to what I was saying about like the agency versus the consulting model, and I said like the more seriously you take growing your agency, the more you should try to remove yourself as the owner, and then the more seriously you take the consultancy, the more you should get involved with your clients. On the agency, when I'm consulting with agency owners, I teach this like 6-pillar framework is what I call it. It's not a unique mechanism. It's no shiny, magic bullet thing. I think we can all agree that these 6 pillars have to exist in an agency. Your lead generation, it's like opportunity inflow, sales process, closing, onboarding, fulfillment, account management. Okay. Pretty clear, obvious statement that those things need to exist, but I kind of put it into like a quote unquote framework. So that way, whenever an agency comes to me, I can lay out the 6 pillars and we can quickly like find where the constraint is within those 6 pillars, diagnose their issue, and then start talking about it, right? Start talking about a solution. Regardless, there's these 6 pillars, right? The whole goal is to make sure those 6 pillars are in place, and then over time, methodically remove yourself from each pillar. Like that's how you grow an agency. You make sure you have lead generation coming in, a solid sales process, which that's kind of an umbrella term, but that kind of includes your niche, your pricing structure, your offer, etc. And then closing, so like sales ability, and then onboarding, fulfillment, and account management, which is all the back end stuff. Once you have all that stuff in place, you remove yourself, like then you have self-sustaining, more like automated type of agency, right? So in my agency, before we got acquired, and this was a little over 2 years ago, when I had the agency that I exited, we would have leads and opportunity coming in on a day-to-day basis from ads that were running by themselves. Like ads were running, churning out opportunity into our pipeline. I had a salesperson who was getting on intro calls and demo calls with them. They would make the sale. The salesperson, the account manager would get on the onboarding call and onboard the client. Our white label fulfillment team would start doing fulfillment. Our account manager would handle communications and reporting. And where was I? I could be doing anything I wanted to. Most of the time I was like in the kitchen with our ads, like making sure our ads were performing well and making sure that the whole system was fueled. But like I could have even gotten that off my plate if I wanted to. I didn't, because like that's kind of my thing. I love advertising. But regardless, like that is an example of like me having removed myself from those 6 pillars. So when I say like, hey, the more seriously you take growing an agency, the more you need to remove yourself. That may have been kind of cryptic at first, but that's what I mean, right? And by the way, this is why, like, whenever I went to sell my agency, like, it sold within a couple months. Like, it was such an attractive purchase because it was a self-sustaining asset. It was a self-sustaining business. Does that make sense?
Oh, let's cook right there, because you with the pot. You on the stove right now. Okay, first, let me keep y'all caught up. He said, if you want to scale, less one-on-one and working on removing yourself. If you want to be the best consultant in the world, you need to do more one-on-one. He talked about the 6 pillars. Now, you just went here. How I want to say it. All right, you talked about getting acquired. So let's take a step back, because, this is a very hot button topic now. Everybody's like, oh, I want to be able to get a 3x multiple and all these things. You just gave us one fabulous tip that we've seen over and over again. You working your way out makes you more attractive. Give us 2 or 3 other things that you believe helps you to sell, and they gave you a number that you were actually like, oh yeah, I'm good. Let's run it.
Yeah, man. In Agency Collective, we have guest speakers on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. One of the guys we had come in last month, his name's Chris Wyatt. He runs an agency. He also happens to be a one-on-one consulting client of mine, like super good dude, even though he may not even need it. This guy's a marketing OG. Like, he's really, really good. I'm learning from him as he's learning from me. It's a really cool relationship we got there. But he also acquires agencies. And he came into our community and started talking about like, hey, these are the main things I look for whenever I'm buying an agency. Like, this is my buy box. This is what I need to see, right? So let me see if I can remember what he said. I did post the highlights from that on my YouTube channel. But I know one was diversification of client base. So AKA, like, the more clients you have, the more diversified that revenue is, the more safe of an investment it is, right? So if your business is doing like $100,000 a month with 10 clients paying you $10K a month, that's kind of like a risky investment for someone to buy. It's not diversified, as opposed to like having 50 clients paying $2K a month. Okay, well, like, if we churn 2% upon transition after the acquisition, like, that's not as bad as it could be if like we churned 2 clients on the we only have 10 clients situation, right? So anyways, diversification amongst the client base was one for sure.
Don't forget taking yourself out the process.
That's for sure. That's a big one. So it's like how removed the owner is, how and he called it, concentration risk on the owner, right? Does the business depend on the owner for either operations or client acquisition? I know some agencies who have gotten to really great heights because they've built a big personal brand for themselves, and that's really, really awesome. One of my closest friends built his agency to multiple 6 figures per month off of his personal brand. But the thing is, like, whenever we talk about an exit event, that's just going to be like a mark against you in an exit event, because like if new ownership takes over, well, they lack the personality. They lack the personal brand. They lack the thing that was bringing in all the clients, right? And that was another thing about like my agency selling, is whenever I handed over the keys of the agency, I handed over the ad campaign, I handed over the pipeline, I handed over this massive client acquisition machine that we had built for that agency. Let me see what else. So there's diversification amongst book of business. There was removal of the owner, to put it briefly. He mentioned like, 2 to 5 million a year is like the range that people are looking for whenever they're buying agencies. Sorry, man, I'm drawing a blank. He gave me 5 total. I'm drawing a blank right now, but he gave me 5 total.
Here we go. Okay, what did he say about revenue, cash flow, and profitability?
Yeah, gosh, he said some pretty specific stuff about that. Again, it's on my YouTube channel, but he mentioned like they do
Go
want.
ahead and plug the YouTube channel real quick. Go ahead and plug it.
It's I actually just changed the name of it. It was just Blake Snodgrass, but I just changed it to Agency Collective because what I want to do is start uploading more highlight clips from these guest speakers that we're having because these guest speakers they've been bangers lately, and so it should just be Agency Collective. It's a green A logo. You'll see that on the YouTube channel. But it was probably like one of the last videos I posted. His name's Chris Wyatt.
Yeah, Chris Wyatt. Go look him up. He's certified. Yep. Okay, so we got diversified client base. How removed our owner is. Personal brand is a mark against you. 2 to 5 million a year is the range. What did he say about your team? Like, does your team need to be a certain size?
Yes, he kind of made the same point about team as he did about the client base. Like diversification is a good thing, right? Like, AKA like having more people. Like the more people you have on your team, the less concentration risk there is, right? Like if there's only 3 people on the team and one of them leaves during the transition, well, like you just lost 33% of your team, you know? And so the fewer employees you have, the more risky it is from a buyer's perspective.
Okay. What did he say about like debt, lines of credit, how that is viewed when I'm trying to buy it?
Yeah. I mean, he, all the finance side of things, he went into detail on that stuff. And like, he's a much smarter finance mind than I am. But I do remember him saying like, obviously it's a major plus if they don't have any debt. One thing he was really concerned about was like the what was it? They talk about it in real estate, like debt to income ratio type of thing. So like if I'm going to buy an agency that I have to purchase for multi 7 figures, a lot of the time I'm going to be financing that, and I'm most likely in many occasions going to have a note associated with that, right? So like the debt service needs to be below a certain percentage of income. Like he said something like that. I'm not a finance guy. I'm a market and sales guy, but yeah.
But wait. Give yourself some credit because you sold your agency. So clearly you had these things in place. What was the hardest thing that you faced in selling your agency? Like, was it hard to let it go because you built it from the ground up? Was it easy because you felt safe giving it to this person? Like, walk us through that, because I think a lot of people just think, oh, they're going to write this huge check. All right, cool. We shake, sign some papers, and then, all right, see ya.
Yeah. The sale of my agency went pretty dang smooth because I knew the guy I was selling it to. Like, he wasn't a stranger to me. One of the, I'm not gonna say obstacles we faced, but like one thing that we really had to pay attention to was the specifics of how the transition was going to work to make sure we didn't churn any clients during the transition. And so we made an agreement that I would more or less kind of stay on board for 90 days and help him transition those clients in a way that resulted in like as minimal turnover as possible. And dude, we did it with like 2 to 4% churn, like, it was pretty successful, like the transition. So that was kind of difficult, just like time wise, because like I hopped on a call with him and our account manager and the client for all 46 of our clients over a 90-day period. So that was a lot of work, but it ended up going really smooth. Like we put in the work necessary to make that transition successful, and yeah, it worked well.
Okay. Well, it is. Okay.
It's time.
You know how we say this is legacy's journey and family is important? See, I think we're getting interrupted. What did you say? He's not crying, so that means he's okay. Go put on devotional. It's okay. Put on devotional or Bluey. Yeah. So.
Our kids love some Bluey, man.
Family. All right, wait. So back to where you were saying. Okay. Yep. I love this part right here. You said you had about 46 clients. Now, let's stay right there because a lot of people think, man, if I don't have 100 clients or 250, like that means I'm going to get penalized. But you said 46. Mm-hmm. And I know from being the numbers guy what that means. But break that down for everybody else. Because to your point earlier about the diversification, Yes, 46 clients, but that means we have some that are high paying, 10, 15, 20 grand a month. We have some that are probably at the $1,500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about how to, I don't want to say balance because I'm sure you didn't do it on purpose, but what is it like to manage 46 with the team size that you have? And tell us your team size at that time.
Man, we were doing it with one account manager. Like we had a white label fulfillment company and I had one account manager and that was it. You know why it was like that manageable? Because most of them were SEO clients and that was by design. The main product I was selling was SEO, and SEO clients are extremely easy to manage. It's not like paid ads clients where you're constantly having to make new ad creative and constantly hearing back from the client about like, oh, our lead cost, our appointment cost is increasing. Like SEO is extremely simple. You do the job, you do it well, you provide monthly reporting, you offer complimentary like bi-weekly or once a month calls, and as long as progress is trending in the right direction month over month or quarter over quarter, and you're not charging a ridiculous amount, like the client's going to be happy, right? And so like managing a 46 client book of business where most of them are SEO clients, like it was not that bad. Like I said, we just had one account manager. I was on the verge of hiring my second account manager before I decided to sell. So that account manager was pretty busy, but like it was, yeah, she was just one person managing all those accounts. Did I
So
answer your
don't,
question? I feel like you asked me something different.
no, that's a good answer. I
Okay.
think the key there is a lot of people, oh, I don't know about outsourcing to a white label agency because what if they don't do it the way we do it? But he's telling you that you can do it successfully. Of course, you have to.
That's a topic
Maybe
right
we
there.
should ask that question. How would you suggest people find the right white label partner if they're going to go that route and not keep it in house?
It's a major topic. Yeah. Like like a huge topic, like something we talk about daily in Agency Collective. Like should I go with this white label company or that white label company or whatever? So whenever you're growing an agency, you obviously have two options when it comes to fulfilling your service. Well, in the beginning, solopreneur mode, you might be doing it yourself, and then you can just transition to either in-house or you can transition to white label, right? Which I kind of have started to use this term like drop servicing, if you want to look at it that way, right? Like you're selling and then you're dropping the service, like you're using a white label company for the service, right? So where should we start? You know, there's pros and cons to both paths. Like in-house team, the pros are you have more control over the quality of service. That's the main thing. You have more control. The cons are it's kind of an upfront investment, whereas like a white label company, you're going to pay a low monthly rate per account upon bringing on the account. So it's like if I acquire an SEO client, then I'm going to start paying the white label company, $350 a month or whatever I pay them, and I'm not going to accrue another $350 in expense until I bring on the next client. So it just ratchets up. You're only paying more whenever you're earning more, right? With the internal team in-house model, like before I have a lot of clients, I got to pony up the cash to pay this person's salary, and then hopefully we can ratchet the book of business up quickly to cover that expense, and then we'll reach a certain level where I'll have to make another big investment into a new person, and then profitability shrinks, and then it's going to grow as the book of business continues to ramp. So it's like, you get what I'm saying, right? It's like a large investment and then a period of growth, a large investment and period of growth. If you want to look at it that way, for someone who's like just starting out, like hiring someone is for sure a large investment, if you want to say that. Anyways, with the white label companies, that's the route I took. I was building a very lifestyle type of business. Like I didn't want a lot of internal staff. I didn't want a lot of like in office, in-person staff. I wanted to have a business where I had my marketing running. I had a sales guy taking my calls. I had an account manager doing onboarding and client communications, and I had a white label team doing all the fulfillment. All of it's remote, all very streamlined, and we can scale very quickly like that. Now, back to your first question of like, how do you determine like which white label company is best, and like what are some good like practices for knowing which white label company to partner with? Man, there's the issue is like there's so many crappy white label companies and like subcontractors and stuff out there, like I hear from agencies all the time that they just don't know who to hire, and they've been through like 4, 5, 6 white label companies that like have have just done a terrible job for their clients, you know? And so some of them go the path of like trying to find good individual subcontractors themselves. Like I'll go find someone who's really good at SEO as a subcontractor. I'll find a really good like paid ads subcontractor. I'll find a really good content subcontractor. And I'm going to assemble this whole team together. The thing is, whenever you do that, as opposed to hiring a white label company who's just going to take care of all of it for you, is you're relieving yourself of the actual like fulfillment task, but you're adding on the management task, right? So like you think you're getting stuff off your plate, but really you're putting something on your plate that's even more heavy than fulfillment. It's called management, right? Whenever you like, let's say you have a white label company and you bring on a client that's going to do SEO, Facebook ads, and Google ads with you. You onboard that client to the white label company, and the white label company is going to choose one of their team members who's a specialist in SEO, someone else who's a specialist in Google ads, someone who's a specialist in Facebook ads. They're going to have a project manager, and they're going to have someone to communicate with you about the performance on that account. Like it's pretty much just like a one-stop shop type of thing, right? Like whenever you hire a team of subcontractors, you have to communicate with all of them individually, and it creates like this constraint of you now being a manager to all these people. Whereas with a white label company, you can probably just talk to like your one like point of contact with the white label company, and they're handling everything on the back end. And if Susie, the SEO specialist, gets sick or needs to be replaced or whatever, like they handle that. You don't have to think about anything, right? So that's my spiel on like, hey, if you don't want to hire in-house staff, here's the difference between like finding individual subcontractors versus like hiring a white label company. Now,
No, I think that's good though, because to your point, like everybody's not great at managing others, right? Like
it's a new skill set for a lot of people.
And most people, I mean, unless you, I guess you can say worked in maybe restaurant industry or something like that, most people, especially coming out of college, you don't know how to manage people of different ages, different backgrounds and demographics. Yep. And then you're the owner. So I know for me, I've been focusing a ton on leadership this year. Like everything starts and stops with you. You have to set the tone. You have to set standards, and you got to be consistent across the board. You can't show favoritism. You got to make sure we're all going in the right direction. So to your point, not necessarily that it's easier, but it just may be more efficient depending on how you're trying to create your business to consider the white label strategy. I think that's great.
Yeah. And I'm no like management guru. Like I think the biggest my team has ever gotten is like 12 to 15 people. I've never employed like 100 people or something. But still I know enough to know that like management is a skill you have to develop, you know. And if you're again building a team of subcontractors where you're relieving yourself of the quote unquote fulfillment tasks, but then in the same breath like adding on a bunch of management responsibility, you're there's two types of delegation. One's like delegating tasks, like what you do with your hands, and the other one is like delegating decisions, which is where your mental bandwidth gets taken up, right? With the white label company, you're delegating both, right? You're delegating the tasks that are getting done, like the SEO, Google ads, whatever. You're also delegating the mental bandwidth decision making. The project manager within that white label company is going to see like, hey, this person's, you know, SEO account is performing bad. We need to fix this. Like, what they're doing all that for you behind the scenes. Whereas again, if you hire individual subcontractors, you're relieving yourself. You're delegating the what I do with my hands tasks, but you're adding on a mental bandwidth associated task, if all that makes sense. But I think the biggest question you asked, what you started with, was like how to choose a white label company. So there's a good handful of white label companies that are like the front runners, like the big premium white label companies that a lot of people know about. 51 Blocks, Agency Elevation, PPC Foundry, Invisible PPC. I want to make sure I don't leave anyone out.
Hey, we may not need to name drop because they're not sponsoring the podcast. We may not need. You can do Invisible PPC because we had them on here, but we may not name drop because maybe we need to do us. I'm just playing. You can name drop because people may look them up and do the research, and we're here.
Sure. Well, I mean, like that kind of plays into the point I'm going to make a little bit. Like my philosophy, even as someone who coaches agency owners on a day-to-day basis, when I'm talking about like which white label company you should go with, I never recommend just like one, like this is the best one. There's no such thing as the best white label company. I'll just say that.
Whoa.
Because
that's bold.
Yeah, there's no such thing as the best white label company. That's like saying there's such thing as like the best hammer. Dude, it's not about the hammer, it's about how you use it. And that's a concept that not many agency owners really understand, that white label companies are a tool and you can be either really good or really bad at using that tool. So I've heard about X, I'll stop naming names, but like about this one white label company, I've heard they're the best, I've heard they're the worst. I've heard that same thing about every white label company. So it's like, well, what gives? Like, why do people say that they're the worst or they're the best? And I've heard that about every white label company. It's because of the agency owner. Like, and this is a hard concept to explain a little bit, but maybe that analogy was best. Like, it's a tool, and you got to be good at using the tool. And so if you're not good at using the tool, of course you're going to think they're bad, right? So the question becomes like, number one, go with a white label company that is well known, established. They obviously have like hundreds, if not thousands of clients. Like, they know what they're doing. Some of the names I just dropped are some of those companies, okay? But then second to that, there's three main things. Number one, go with an established firm. Number two, interview multiple. Like have meetings with at least two or three of them and ask them about their process, ask them about the results, ask them about how their communication cadence works. Figure out which one like vibes with you the best. Figure out which one you feel like is going to produce the best results. Like, just interview multiple. Same thing with like hiring team members. And then lastly is like getting good at the skill of using them, right? So I think the most apparent example I can give of this is like the onboarding process. Okay. So this is an example of like, are you good or not good at using the tool? And if you're not good at using the tool, you're going to just consequentially think that the white label company is bad when it might actually be you. So onboarding. Okay. I know a lot of agency owners who get frustrated because they land a client, and then upon landing the client and taking payment, they will, because it's what the white label company told them to do, they will take the white label company's onboarding form and just send it to the client and be like, hey, client, I'm excited to get started. Your payment went through. Here's this onboarding form. Fill it out. And whenever we get it back, we'll rock and roll. Here's the thing. A lot of the times clients aren't like super prompt. And so you send the onboarding form to them. They take like 5, 6, 7 days to fill it out. Upon getting the onboarding form, the white label company in most cases will hold true to their timeline, which is usually like, hey, within 7 to 10 business days after receiving the onboarding form, we'll launch the campaign. So that means that, like, let's say 2-3 weeks after the client paid, the campaign launches, which means a week later, month 2 happens and they get billed. And the client hits up the agency and they're like, what the hell? We just got billed for month 2, but our campaign's only been live for a week. So they point the finger at the agency points the finger at the white label company, and the white label company points the finger at the client. It's terrible, and it happens every day. Okay. And so that's an example of like an agency owner not using the tool correctly. The way that I handled onboarding to make sure that that didn't happen was, on a sales call, we would take the payment and they would set the expectation of like, hey, by the way, the next step is the onboarding call. We're going to do that tomorrow morning. Between now and then, we're going to email you a checklist of everything you need to come with prepared to that onboarding call. Then on the onboarding call, we're going to get 100% of everything we need from you in order to launch your campaign, like website login, like copy, like whatever. And after that meeting ends, which is my account manager, we took all the information and we filled out the white label company's onboarding form. So we kept full control over the process, which allowed us to make sure that within 24 hours of the sale, they are officially like onboarded to the white label company. So the white label company was then able to adhere to their timeline and everyone's happy, right? But like, if you don't have processes in place like that, like you're not using the tool correctly, and you're going to end up just like blaming the white label company, right? So that's what I mean by like, hey, there's white label companies that could be like the best, but people will say they're the worst because they run into these situations that are really like caused by the agency owner not really having processes dialed in. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
Because he literally just gave y'all an onboarding playbook for free. So if you're not paying attention, you should. I told you.
People make onboarding too complicated. And nowadays it's like freaking GHL and these workflows and AI stuff. People want to automate everything. It's like, dude, get them on an onboarding call. Make sure they know ahead of the onboarding call what they need to bring to the table. Get everything you need from them within 20 minutes. And like, that's it. and they're gonna love the FaceTime of that 20 minutes and the personalized touch of not just like, oh, I'm gonna send you a form, fill it out, that
Well,
that
wait,
creates a lot of.
whoa, you finna make some people mad because I just came back from a conference. They talked about AI. It was 3 different speakers. I could probably name. I'm gonna name drop my boy John Mass, but they'll tell you AI is here. Embrace it.
I
Utilize.
agree.
But you just said, whoa, don't get so caught up in all the automations and the AI and the fanciness that we lose the personal touch.
Yeah, when you have like 8 clients, like do the freaking onboarding call, man. Like, you know what I mean? So I have people asking me like, should I use AI chatbots for my lead flow that are coming in? It's like, what's your budget? How much are you spending per day? How many leads are you generating? Well, I'm spending $30 per day and I'm generating like, 3 to 4 leads a day. Dude, call the leads, Like sure, use an AI chatbot whenever you're generating like 60 leads a day, like we are. Okay. So that's kind of my view on like the whole tech aspect of things. I feel like since there's so much tech available and GHL and workflows and AI chatbots and stuff like that, like a lot of it gives up and coming entrepreneurs an excuse to be lazy.
Mm.
So like onboarding, yeah, I know, man. You can set up some crazy cool automation where whenever they fill out your order form and the payment processes, it triggers a thing in GHL with a workflow that starts an onboarding process, and they're getting emails and texts, and it automatically sends them the contract, and then it's going to send them the intake form, and they can fill it out themselves. That's all cool, man. Right? And if you're onboarding 3 clients a day, go for it. But if you're onboarding 1 client a week, do the 20-minute meeting, have that FaceTime, establish a good relationship with the client. I call onboarding the silent but deadly pillar. Remember the 6 pillars? I call onboarding the silent but deadly pillar because if you jack it up, that has the potential to, there you go. Yeah, heck yeah. That's it. You're inducted into Agency Collective. You got the 6 pillars down. Love it. I call it the silent but deadly pillar because if you really screw up that first like 2 to 4 week period, that could be the difference between them staying on board for 12 months versus them staying on board for 1 or 2 months. And let's say you're selling a package for $1,500 a month. That's the difference between making $18,000 or making $2,000 or $3,000, right? Because if you don't go about the onboarding process correctly, and it's all this crazy tech and automations that the client doesn't really get, and there's no personal touch and all this stuff, like they are going to experience buyer's remorse. And that's what we need to guard against, right? So yeah, like I love AI, love automations. I use all that stuff at some capacity in our business, but a very simple, effective, personalized onboarding process that does not have to take a lot of time. That's what worked for us. I'll just put it that way. That's what worked for us.
All right. I think we skipped some stuff. Let me go back to my notes. You said, I ain't going to ask you this because I feel like we don't want to nerd out. I was going to say, what are you seeing in ads right now? Because I know Facebook is doing some weird stuff, but we won't go there. Let's go to something I know you'll want to talk about. Let's talk about going back to the beginning. Because you told us we skipped a major piece in the story. So you talked about coming out of college. Church wanted me. All right. I started doing my own thing. We grew, sold it. Now I'm doing this bigger, more purposeful thing. But somewhere in this story, you found somebody special. So when you found her and you say, babe, I'm finna go on my own. Or did she meet you? Had you known her before you started the company?
High school sweethearts. Yeah, we've been together for a long time.
So, all right. So now I know how this go. Babe, I'm going on my own. First thing she says is,
let's make it happen. She was 8 months pregnant and I was like, I want to quit my job and do this thing. And even though most people consider that like wildly irresponsible, she was like, I was like, I want to do this thing. I want to step out and quit my job and like start this business. And so I have this plan, babe. Like we can wait. Liam will be born. We'll wait like 6 months. We'll make sure things are stable. And then I want to step out and do this thing. And she was like, do it now. I can't stomach seeing you go another day without doing this thing. Like I know you want to do so badly. So I could get emotional about this, but like, yeah, she was like, go for it. She's always been just like on board, like go for it, do it, because even if it doesn't go as planned, like your happiness is so much more important than, you know what I mean? Like she was
Shout
like,
out to the
you
babe.
go do your thing, like do what you know you're supposed to be doing, even if it's going to make it a little bit more difficult or inconvenient for us for the time being. And dude, she was in nursing school. I was making $1,800 a month working at that church, and we had a baby on the way.
Okay. So now, because we skipped this little part too. So he just said, hey, 46 clients was able to sell, and it was a blessing. But tell the people, what was it like when you made that first sale, or what was it like when you had your first 10K month? Because we may have younger, newly aspiring marketing agencies or people who are on the fence or want to do it. But what was that experience like for you when you made that first 10K? Walk us through that process. I mean, I know it's a long time ago for you.
Yeah. But like, it's interesting, man. It's an interesting question because I remember like when I made my first 10K, like when I had my first 10K month, and that was a while back. This is probably 2014 or something. I remember the feeling of like, yeah, maybe it was like right after I found the digital marketing path. You know, because remember I told you I struggled with the whole branding and design thing for a while, and then I got involved with digital marketing and started doing the SEO thing, and then probably 2014, yeah, probably right around there, probably ended up having my first 10K month. And yeah, I remember the feeling of like is this real? Like it didn't feel real at first, but at the same time, I was always like very driven by these big like way out in the future mountain sized goals that I had. And so while I was like, damn, this is crazy, like 10K or whatever, I was also like, okay, that's just step one of like 20, right? And so like I told myself around that time when I was getting started, like, okay, within 3 years from now, I either want to be a millionaire or I want to be making 40K a month. Like I have to hit one of those goals in the next 3 years. And I wrote that down on paper and had a date set to it and everything. Actually, you know what? Never mind. Sorry. I said I wanted to do all of that by 2020, but it ended up happening in 3 years. That's what I was going to say. So in 2014, I wrote down, this is 2013, I think. Yeah, about 2013 when I stepped out and started doing the digital marketing. I wrote down on a sheet of paper, I think I probably have this sheet of paper still in some journal, like by 2020, I must either be a millionaire or be making $40,000 a month. Now, it's just funny looking back at that, how naive it is, because like being a millionaire, having $1 million in liquid net worth is definitely harder than hitting 40K per month, just in case anyone's wondering. But anyways, like I wrote that down, and within 3 years, I was at 40K per month. And so, yes, it was awesome. It was like elation to, hit that first 10K month. But at the same time, I was like, the job's not done yet. And I just hit the gas pedal harder and harder along the way.
All right. Let's stay right here. Now let's talk about Bay. So now that was back at the beginning. Now you've done it, had it at a high level, and then have started something new. What are some things that you're doing in keeping balance between you and her with date nights, and then of course spending time with your kids?
Yeah, for sure, man. So like I'll be the first to admit I'm not perfect. And so as an entrepreneur, creating work-life balance is an ongoing thing. Like for me, it's never perfected. If I was just to sit here and be like, hey, I have this process and that's how I keep perfect work-life balance, like I'd be BSing, right? So it's an ongoing battle. I try to leave the office by 5:30 every day. And when I go home, usually that like 5:30 to 8:30, which is like bedtime, usually that time slot is like I'm just playing with my boys. I'm just playing with the kids. And then I'm in charge of bedtime while my wife goes back to the room and relaxes because she's been with the kids for hours at that point. And so like I'm in charge of bedtime. I'm in charge of taking the kids to school. So I have a lot of FaceTime with them because me and my wife are really good about splitting up different kid associated tasks, right? So like we have a cadence, we have a dance to where both of us have just as much kid related responsibility, right? I mean, this is a whole topic we could dive into about like an entrepreneur and the entrepreneur spouse and like how the balance happens with like managing children versus the whole work-life balance. Like it's a whole dance we have. Our 9-year-old is autistic and he homeschools. Our 7-year-old goes to public school and he's in every sport known to man. So there's like all these practices and stuff. And then, so like there's so much to manage, right? I mean, that's just what it is when you're a parent.
Because we homeschool, so I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, man. You have 150% the amount of kids that I have. You have 3 kids. I only have 2. And so you know it well more than I do. But man, we try to, as frequent as we can, get a babysitter, have date nights. We definitely hold like this 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. time slot sacred, where after the kids go to sleep, like we're trying to hang out and spend time together. On the weekends, I go through certain growth periods, and I'm in one right now where I may work a little bit on the weekends, but by and large, we try to have like Saturday, Sunday is just family time. So we try to keep those guardrails up and make it as much about family as possible. Because like just big note for like any entrepreneur out there who's thinking about like different ways or better ways to have this work-life balance. One thing we have to keep at the forefront of our mind is like, if we are not spending time with our family, yet we're telling ourselves every day, I'm working so hard for my family, like that's a dichotomy. It's like completely like contradictory, right? Like I'm going to work so hard. And this is something that like I was, like, how should I say this? I was guilty of this for a while, being like, I'm going to work so hard for my family. And babe, that's why I'm working like, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that way we can have this amazing future and spend all this time with our kids. And it's like, dude, if you're not doing that now, do you think your kids are going to want to spend time with you in 10 years from now, whenever you reach that big goal of yours, the goal that isn't even aligned with like your kid doesn't have that goal for you. Like they just want to spend time with you. Like they just want to spend time with their dad. Right. So this whole thing of like, if you're saying I'm working really hard and spending like so many hours at the office for my family, but you're not spending, as a result, you're not spending time with your family, even like a minimal amount of time. Like, dude, it's just like a big contradiction that you have to watch out for as an entrepreneur / family man or family woman.
I love it. Now let's get into the homeschool piece real quick. Because when you said giving wife a break, I said, I already know what that means. Because it's the same thing, right? Like I'll get done with the day, go to the gym, come back. There's some days it's fine. There's some days she's like, I am tagging out. Leave me alone. Deal with your kids. You make sure they eat and get in the bed. Right? So how have you found you have to help? Because to your point, you have an office, right?
Yep.
But I still got to be available because it's both our kids, right? It ain't just your kid. How are you balancing that out? Or give us some tips on how to best balance it out.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, even though like Christy, my wife, is most days home with Liam as he's homeschooling and everything, we've just gotten really good at balancing. I'm trying not to make it sound so like black and white and tactical, but it really is. Like we've gotten really good at the logistics of what needs to happen and who's taking what task. Like as black and white and machine, whatever that sounds like, that's truly what it is. So it's like we'll map out like, okay, well, Christy is doing homeschool and she's like home all day with Liam. She does have a nanny 2 days a week, so she can work on her business as well, because she has a consulting business as well where she consults with medical field companies and nonprofits, which she's amazing at. And so we have a nanny 2 days a week from like 8 to 3 that will give her some time to do her career and her passion. But then a lot of the times outside of that, she's watching the kids. So like that's a big burden, right? And I could be like, oh, well, I also have a big burden because I'm at work every day. But like it's a different, like parenting is a different thing. Like parenting is harder than being an entrepreneur. Can we just like freaking call that out? Parenting is harder than being an entrepreneur, right? And so like I over time have gotten better at like being not aware of that, but like just being respectful about that and being like I know the burden she's carrying by like doing the homeschooling and staying home with Liam, our son, and everything. And so like I want to be super cognizant of that and make sure I'm going above and beyond with taking care of like other tasks that I can outside of my work hours, right? So Eli, our younger son who does go to public school, like I'm doing drop off with him every day. When I get home at night, I'm trying my best to like spend those few hours after work to play with them and hang out with them. And then I'm in charge of like bedtime, bath routine, like all that stuff. And so we've just gotten good over time. We were not good at it a while back, but we've gotten good over time at like splitting up tasks and making it fair and balanced, if you want to put it that way. So that was a lot of rambling, but hope that makes sense. I think it's different for everyone, to be honest,
Yeah, that's how the wives will say. It needs to be fair. It's not the same thing. You're like, I
Dude,
cannot win this argument.
if the guy is doing 100% of like the working and the wife is doing 100% of the child raising, or vice versa, because obviously like women can be entrepreneurs and men can be stay-at-home dads. Like it goes both ways, but like still in that example, like if the guy's doing 100% of the providing and the woman's doing 100% of the child raising, like that's not gonna end well. And like, yeah, man, this could go down a completely different rabbit hole, but you have to find that balance that allows you to, yes, support your family, put the work in, like look out for the long-term financial well-being of your family and everything, but while also being an extremely present husband and father. I think like presence is probably the big thing we could probably riff on for 2 hours, just like being present for your children.
I agree with this. All right, let's go rapid fire because these are things I know you're going to know the answer to.
Cool.
All right, here we go. Tell me what are 2 or 3 things that you do relatively consistently that you would say contributes to your success.
Every single day I look at our advertising and sales metrics. Every single day. It takes me 5 minutes, but I look at that spreadsheet every single day. Yesterday, I know down to the dollar how much we spent, how much new opportunity came in, how many new customers we brought in, what our customer acquisition cost was, like everything. So I'm extremely in tune with our marketing sales. I'm also extremely in tune with the cash flow coming in and coming out. Every single day, I do an expense report. So I'll copy and paste yesterday's transactions over to a spreadsheet. I will itemize them, categorize them. I'm 100% finger on the pulse in the know of the money coming and going from my business. And then daily. I'll also try to, those are the main things, like having my finger on the pulse of business growth, having my finger on the pulse of cash flow coming in and coming out. And then also just like going above and beyond with support, which I know sounds cheesy, but like every day, even though I don't have to on a lot of occasions because I have account managers and things like that, like I will send voice notes. I probably send 20 to 30 voice notes a day to like our clients and our customers, just to check in with them. It's like being extremely active with our clients is probably the other thing that I do. That this is the reason why, to toot my own horn real quick, this is the reason why like we just constantly hear that our community, our consulting firm, like is the best thing anyone's ever experienced, and like the support is amazing, like all this stuff, because like we just go above and beyond with like making sure we make ourselves available to people. And I'm checking in with people all the time, and I'm talking about like, dude, a 20-30 second voice note can be the difference between someone feeling really, really supported and not, and so like I'm very interactive with my clients even when I don't have to. I go above and beyond, and I do that daily. So to answer your question there.
All right. What has being a business owner taught you about Blake the person?
I think being an entrepreneur exposes your where you lack, right? So I've learned a lot about who I am as a person and what I need to work on. Like your business is a reflection of you. Like if your business is struggling in a certain way, it's probably because you're struggling in a certain way. That could be like consistency or discipline. It could be accountability. It could be like your character. Like if your character is poor, that will seep down into your team. It'll seep down into your clients. Your business is a reflection of you, and the health of your business is a reflection of your health. It could even be physical health. It could be that literal. And so, yeah, man, my business has exposed to me a lot about lack of discipline in some seasons. It's taught me a lot about lack of empathy in some seasons. These past 3 years, I've just learned so much about being a leader, an employer, hiring new people all the time. And so, like, those types of seasons will put you in situations where you realize, man, I really need to develop my empathy more. I really need to develop like this, that, and the other, right? So sounds like a pretty cop-out question, but like I'm learning things, new things all the or cop-out answer. I'm learning new things all the time. As my business grows, I have to acquire like new skill sets and develop as a person continuously.
I feel like that was a very good one. I felt seen because I feel like this is true. All right, next question. If you could get in a time machine, you had 30 seconds to go back to your high school self or fresh out of college self, but you know everything as of right to this second, what do you go back and tell them?
With 100% of the knowledge that I have now?
Yeah, but it can't be something easy like buy Amazon stock. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I would probably say to like go down the path I went down, but doing it in, 2008 when I graduated high school, being 10 years ahead of the curve, uh,
you
I'd
think you
have.
would have had the confidence to do it straight out of high school?
That's the thing. If I'm able to go back with all the knowledge I have now and tell myself like the roadmap to take, like that's pretty much like telling someone, buy Amazon at whatever it was. You know what I mean? Like, hey, like go down this path and you're going to be 10 years ahead of the curve. So I'd probably give myself as much of the wisdom as I could in 30 seconds of like what I've acquired about like, because I wouldn't change my path about like going towards the internet marketing space. Like I would be like, hey, go down this path. And by the way, here's the best way to do it. Here's what you should do first. And here's what you should stick to. That would be one of the main things I would tell myself, like, hey, choose one of these paths because all of them are very lucrative. But whatever you choose, stick to it and do it 8 hours a day for 15 years. And you will have a 9-figure net worth.
I mean, I feel like that's legit. All right. If you were a newer agency and I'm making my 10 grand a month,
Yep.
what are 3 things you're telling them to do outside of your framework? 3 things to do in order to get you to $1 million run rate agency.
Treat yourself like your own VIP client. Are you generating leads and opportunity for yourself? You have to ask yourself 2 main questions. If I was my own client, would I be happy with the amount of leads and opportunity I'm getting on a daily basis, or would I fire myself immediately? So that's a big like gut check question for most agency owners. Or another question to ask is like, what's the minimum amount of marketing I would recommend my clients spend to grow their business? And am I doing that myself? So treat yourself like your own client. Am I actually practicing what I preach and doing what I do for my clients for myself? So get serious about, yeah, I know you might be good at marketing for roofing companies or marketing for med spas or whatever, but are you good at marketing agencies, namely your agency? So get good at that. Get good at generating leads for your agency, because those who have an abundance of opportunity flowing in can cherry pick the best deals. You have control over growth. You just have maximum control over the growth projection of your business. So that, whatever you want to call that, like get good at treating yourself like your own client and generating opportunity for yourself. Number 2, as fast as humanly possible, get fulfillment and account management off your plate. Okay, so those are the last 2 pillars we talk about in that 6-pillar framework: fulfillment and account management. Whether it's white label or I talked about the downside of hiring a bunch of different subcontractors, but whether it's white label or that or in-house, like get fulfillment and account management off your plate as quickly as possible. All these premium white label companies didn't exist back when I was getting started in 2013, 2014, 2015, but they're so abundant now. Like you have no excuse to not get fulfillment off your plate as quickly as possible. Even account management. There are firms that will recruit, hire, place, and manage an account manager for you within your agency for X amount of dollars per month. Okay. So there's no excuse to not get that stuff off your plate as quickly as possible, because then that allows you to focus on the first thing I said, which is learning how to create more opportunity for yourself. So opportunity creation, getting fulfillment and account management off your plate, and then accountability. I'll sound like a broken record and go back to what I was talking about earlier. It's like place yourself around other people who are on the same journey. Place yourself around people who can hold you accountable and keep you motivated. Because remember, it's not about information accumulation and buying courses and all this stuff. It's about like actually positioning yourself around people who you can grow with.
Oh my goodness, y'all. I'm posting that the minute we get off of here. This man just said, treat yourself like your own VIP client. That means your top person that pay you the most money. Are you doing those same things for yourself? That was so... Okay, let's wrap this up because I know he got to go help and save some other people. This is what I want you to do. Again, tell the people who you are. This is your section of promo, pump. Tell them your name of the company again, maybe even if you have partners, what you do and how they can get in touch with you, whether that's website, email, socials, whatever.
For sure, man. Yeah. Again, Blake Snodgrass. Our consulting firm or our mastermind is called Agency Collective. We have a funnel at agencycollective.io that shows you pretty much everything that is in our mastermind. And we have a 14-day free trial with nothing held back. You can literally join and there's no gatekeeping. There's no like, oh, you get this thing on week 1 and then week 2. Like we give you everything on day 1. So you can literally go in for free, decide from the inside whether or not our community feels right to you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. agencycollective.io.
Okay. All right. So let's wrap this up. Let me hit this summary because I got some notes in this.
You're a good hype man. I'm sure some of my answers were terrible, but you're like, that was the best. Like, hell yeah.
Here we go. All right. We talked about the story. Started. Oh, by the way, high school sweetheart. So let's start there. Goes to college, works for a church. They offer him a job coming out upon completion. He takes it, starts doing it. Then the light comes on to start his own thing. Wifey's like, go for it, even though she's about to have a baby. And he takes the leap, grows it up to a point to where it's worth selling. Some of the things he talked about that it would help you to do to make sure you can sell: diversify client base, be removed as the owner, aka concentration risk. Personal brand can be a mark against you because if you leave, then what are we pushing? What's the character? The ideal range is you making 2 to 5 million a year. The more people you have on your team, the better. No debt is a plus. Being careful during the transition so that you don't have high turnover. I love how he said that your business is a reflection of you. If you're not disciplined in regular life, there's a high chance you may not be in your business. If you're struggling with communications in other areas, same thing. So I love that he put a high emphasis on investing in yourself, whether that is through the courses or the masterminds or the one-on-ones. And then this part at the end about if you want to get to $1 million, treat yourself like your own VIP client. Get fulfillment and account management off your plate as soon as you can. Find ways to create more opportunity for yourself and place yourself around people who can hold you accountable and that you can grow with. So, bro, we thank you for coming on here. This was dope. I'm with you. I think we could have went another hour, but I know you got to save the world.
100%.
So,
I looked up and I was like, what? Like 50 minutes passed by? It was fun, man. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, man. So this was cool. So, y'all, he told you how to get in touch with them. If you want to connect with them on Facebook, I'm sure that's fine too. So, as we've been saying, y'all, this is what we're trying to do for season 2. Bring you people that have done this at a high level so that you can learn and glean from them, so that you can connect with them. Maybe this is a partnership for you. Maybe this is the right mastermind that you've been looking for, and you're like, yes, we connect. This is why we're doing this, guys, to give you as much value as we can. So, with all that being said, share this episode with somebody who needs to hear it. Tag them. Of course, we're going to have the clips out, so if they resonate with you, make sure you share them. But other than that, guys, until the next episode, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and until the next time, peace.